right. Welcome to another fire episode, number 18, Streets and Scholars. I'm Alex Alonso, and I'm here with Frank Thornton, a.k.a. FG. What's going on, man?
What's going on with it, Alex? How your day going?
I think today is the hottest day of the year.
No, not at all.
It wasn't? What, a couple days ago?
Yeah, a couple days ago it was scorching, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the hottest week of the year.
Okay, yeah,
Right?
we could do that.
Yeah, because the temperature just
It was pretty
turned up.
toasty yesterday.
Yeah.
Pretty warm yesterday.
Temperature just turned up. I guess for all those who want to know, I think we've been dabbling in the 90s to the hundreds, depending on how far inland you are and how close to the beach you are. But nevertheless, beautiful weather still.
Oh, beautiful, man. I'm out there on that hog today, man, so,
Even if it's 100 degrees.
Well, at the same time, it's never 100 degrees in L.A. It get 90, 95. It's been a minute since it's been an actual 100 because you're so close to the beach.
But if you just go right over the hill into the valley.
Yeah, it's going to be score. It's 100 over there.
It's another
103,
10
105 over there. Yeah.
So whatever, if it's 85 here, it's going to be 95 right over.
Easily. And that's just a few miles.
But sometimes I think it's a little unbearable, but hey, it is what it is, man. That's the California weather.
No doubt. You sound like you complaining when you got people, you know what I mean?
Sometimes I complain.
You insulting some people right now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm insulting my family who likes to turn the AC on and keep it on all day long, running up that bill. Shoot, last summer I had a $500 electricity bill one month.
We do too, man.
But there's only 2 months that happens, though.
Yeah, it's 2 or 3 months, and it just so happened my wife happened to pay that bill. And she complains every time this year. She complaining,
Yeah, for me it's my July bill and my August bill.
It's definitely 500.
Yeah.
All
right. Hey, I wanted to do a fact check from last week when I said the Sandy Hook deaths. I think I just threw out some number. I said like 30.
You did say that.
Yeah, but I think it's actually 28 total deaths. 20 of them were kids, and they were all little kids.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
Yeah.
And Adam Lanza was the shooter, and he also was young. He was 20 years old.
Oh, I didn't know he was that young.
So the Buffalo shooter was 18.
Right.
The Texas shooter was 18. And now they have this, I don't know if you heard about the lawmakers want to make a law that says in order to buy one of these type of AR-15 rifles, you got to be 21 now.
21, what's the difference? In 20 and 21. I could see if they said 25 because we talked about that in some earlier episodes where, we talked about the brain being fully developed around 25, 26. But what's the difference between 20 and 21? A couple months,
I don't really think it matters.
I don't either.
I just think they're trying to find new ways to create laws.
Well, they're going to create them till, at the same time, what's going to stop the effect of what's going on?
Well, what it is just that some of these shooters have been young, but we've had mass shooters that have been 30.
Right.
35, 40.
Yeah, but like you say, putting the age ban on or putting the age on, it ain't going to stop it.
I don't think the law is actually going to work. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals here in California found that law was unconstitutional. You cannot ban an 18-year-old from buying a weapon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but some states are trying to push
it in the Constitution that you have to be 8? Is it a number in the Constitution, the Second Amendment?
It don't say an age,
so
but
how can they say it's unconstitutional?
Well, how old do you have to be to go to war?
Right. You old enough to shoot one.
You throwing a rifle in a teenager's hand, and you telling him to go fight for this country.
Right, you're right.
But you can't go buy a gun from the gun store.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
So it's kind of tricky. Some states are trying to allow 18-year-olds to own guns as long as it's not fully automatic. Some states are saying the only exception for someone under the age of 21 is if they're in the army, in the military, or officer. But some states are saying you cannot do any of that. So, but this conversation is going to happen for a while because these shooters were young, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. Yes. But yeah, Sandy Hook, 20 kids, and that was in 2012. Can you believe that was 10 years ago?
Yeah, that went fast.
Oh, you hadn't even come home yet, but I'm sure you heard about that.
No doubt. You heard about that, but at the same time, like you say, time moving fast. 10 years, damn.
Yeah, man. Newton, Connecticut, and this is one of the. Oh, what's crazy is that there was this conspiracy theorist dude named Alex Jones. He said that Sandy Hook was fake. It didn't happen. Now we were talking about conspiracy theories before.
Right, we were, yeah.
And I used to listen to this dude a lot. They banned him off of all platforms. he used to say some real interesting conspiratorial type things, but he lost me when he said that everything you see on TV is fake. Those are staged actors. Those are crisis actors. It's all fake.
Right.
And eventually he lost his Twitter, he lost his YouTube, and he got sued. And what made me realize this dude went too far is the family of those 20 kids.
Yeah.
They was pissed.
Hell yeah.
But I mean, how far will you go on a conspiracy theory though?
Not that far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't do it like that, but I do believe in some conspiracies. Like you say, I do believe some things might have been overlaying circumstances and a few, you know, but I won't go to the point to where I won't believe somebody. I mean, that's physical fact that somebody's dead or kids got shot. You know, I would never jump out there like that.
Yeah, man, that is a little crazy to say that. YNW Melly, we've been covering this case. Remember he wanted a speedy trial?
Right, I remember that.
July 6th.
Okay, they finna get on it.
We'll see. We'll see if he goes on trial July 6th for double murder of two of his YNW mates. So that should be going underway real soon. And then we talked about Guy Reffitt, the first guy from the January 6th riot to go on trial. Remember he was found guilty?
Yeah.
And he was supposed to get sentenced. And instead of getting sentenced, he filed a motion to get his conviction overturned. Yeah.
I never heard of that.
Yeah.
Done like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could file any motion you want.
Right, but I just haven't heard of right before sentencing you found a...
Well, he asked for two things. Either overturn my conviction or give me another trial.
Based on whatever he put in the motion?
Yeah, well, I didn't go that deep into it, but a judge said nope.
Right.
Judge said no. And you know what's crazy? Another January 6th rioter went on trial and lost, and it was an NYPD officer named Thomas Webster. He was convicted of assaulting one of the DC officers. So there's another one that decided to take it to trial. So
listening to his wife, probably.
Oh yeah,
she was the one to go. Don't take a deal.
Oh yeah, his wife was crazy, huh?
Yeah, don't.
Oh man, I wish I had a clip of her.
Taking me a deal.
Yeah, so Guy Reffitt will be getting sentenced sometime soon. I don't think he's going. I forgot what I think. Do you remember what you said he should get? We both said something.
I think I said he was gonna get like 15.
Yeah, 15. I said 9.
You said 9.
Yeah, so we'll see. All right, and no word on Governor Gavin Newsom on the Renee Boxer situation, and it's went over the 120 days, but he's probably just tied up. But any day now, Gavin Newsom should be making a decision on that.
Well, you didn't have no problem making a decision on Nancy Pelosi's husband on the DUI. He's sure taking long on this guy, man.
Yeah.
But we'll move on. Let's move on.
Yeah. What else? Let's see. I wanted to talk about Young Thug because Young Thug just sent a message to all his fans over the phone from jail. And Kevin Liles, who was at the bail hearing, has now decided to sign a petition, to create a petition to how do I say this? I don't know how he's going to present this petition, but it's basically to prevent prosecutors, to prevent the government from using art against basically black artists.
I agree with him. I will sign that petition. You know, they shouldn't be using their lyrics or anything artistic, you know, in a trial based on when they know some of these things are just what they are, lyrics, you know, no realization about them, none whatsoever. So you shouldn't even be able to play that for a jury to even sway a jury's mind just because a man said this in a rap song or any kind of song.
Well, one of the things that Kevin Liles wants to press is that if a lyric or a piece of art is not directly connected to a crime, then that art should not be used.
I mean, but how could it be now? You know, I don't even know how could it be now, to be honest with you.
Because remember we had the lyrics to YNW Melly's song "Murder, Murder, Murder."
Right.
Now that was written a year before he allegedly killed these two guys. But the prosecutors in that case want to use some of those lyrics just because they're violent lyrics.
Like I say, you're trying to sway a jury instead of trying to fight your case just straight up. You know, bring facts to the table. This is a murder. You talking about giving a man rest his life in prison. You know what I mean? Don't bring me no lyrics about what he said or what he intentionally thought, you know, and And it's crazy, man. I remember I had a case in Torrance, and I'm fighting the Torrance PD, but they summons the Linwood sheriffs and the Compton sheriffs. The Linwood sheriffs and the Compton sheriffs got on the stand and told them what my demeanor was and what my attitude was a year ago when they arrested me. Which is something that's not, look. I'm fighting this case. What my demeanor was, what my action was, what I said at that time shouldn't be irrelevant, or should be irrelevant to what's going on today, but they still try it, man. They'll try anything.
And who was your lawyer at that time?
Frank DeGiacomo.
Did he at least object to it? Do you remember?
No doubt, but see, no. Well, he ate their ass up in court. He told them straight up. He said, "How many people you arrest today? That's how many people a month. That's how many people a year." And you remember what this dude was doing in the backseat, or what his demeanor? Oh, he ate them. He ate their ass up. But my point is, sometimes these DAs are overreach their boundaries, in order to try to sway people to believe that you're a certain type of person, when stick to the facts of the case.
Yeah, I think that was in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there was a case recently here in LA County that bars police officers from speculating on cases, because a lot of what they bring when they testify is speculation.
Expert opinion is what they want to call you, but you're really speculating.
You're speculating. What you just mentioned is pure speculation, because you can't be in somebody's head. So there was a case about 3 or 4 years ago here in LA, because in a gang case, most of what cops say is speculation.
Right.
But now they can't say some of the stuff they used to get away with.
Okay.
So it's a little bit harder for them to get on the stand. But man, in the 80s and 90s, a cop can get on the stand and pretty much say anything he wanted. So yeah, but you know what? This whole conversation about lyrics and music, it's not new. There was a Tupac civil case where they used his lyrics. They tried to blame his lyrics on the reason why this guy went on a shooting. He went and did a drive-by shooting or
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the lawyers were trying to say that this guy was inspired by a Tupac song. This is back in '94. I don't remember the specifics of it.
Right.
But the question is, there was an article in the LA Times, Gangsta Rap, did lyrics inspire killing of a police? So apparently this guy killed a cop. Okay. And the police wanted to blame Tupac.
Right.
Which was kind of crazy. This is '94.
No doubt. How did that civil case pan out?
I don't think it worked.
It didn't make it.
Yeah, I don't think it worked at all. But nevertheless, they brought in all his lyrics in a civil case. They even had Pac address what the lyrics meant. It was just bizarre.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But last week we were supposed to holler at Spider Loke regarding T.I., and he felt we went soft on T.I., and I don't think we were soft on T.I. I think we were just seeing it for what it was, but he had a different perspective on it, and I'm gonna see if I can get him on the phone this time. This guy better answer, because last week something came up and he wasn't able to tap in.
Oh, I think he's gonna be ready for you this week.
Yeah, we're gonna see right now. I'm on one of my old backup phones here. Bear with me, folks. But we're gonna see if I can get Spider on the line here. Let's see here. There we go. Let's see if Spider's on the line to talk about his favorite rapper, T.I.
Hello.
Spider Loke.
What up, Alex?
We're tapping in with Streets and Scholars. I'm sitting here with FG, and I was just explaining to him that you had a bone to pick with us regarding how we kind of went soft on T.I. regarding the snitch allegations, and I wanted to let the listeners hear your perspective on why you believe T.I. is a snitch.
Well, first and foremost, I teased you because you're a personal friend of mine. I did not go hard on y'all. I'm not familiar with FG. I want to salute him. I had nothing to say about his perspective personally. However, in general, from what I can recall seeing in the two of you all dialogue about the issue, you personally and overall, you guys were saying he didn't point nobody out. And it seemed that you basically came to the conclusion, because he didn't point his finger at any individual, that he wasn't no snitch. Is that the consensus that the conclusion you drew?
Well, I'm gonna let FG respond, because we both addressed his Fed case and his state case. So go ahead, FG. What do you got to say about that?
Spider Look, what's up, homie?
What up, FG? You got it?
How you been, G?
Blessed in yourself.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, man.
That's what's up.
We was talking about the situation, man. And the thing about it was the case was, well, you know how the homie got caught on the case. His brother told on him, right? So in actually, they drug T.I. in there. Didn't even need to because they already had his brother. T.I. came in there and corroborated what actually happened. You know, like I was telling Alex last time, anytime you get up and you corroborate a statement, even if somebody else telling, if you corroborate it, you snitching too, you know, pretty much. But the reason I gave him a pass, homie, is because like I said, you know, well, for one, he ain't no Pyro and he ain't no Crip, so he ain't even under our jurisdiction. But from the outside looking into a rapper, I said I gave the dude a pass just based on when he got up there, even when he told the story. When the dudes when it originally happened, he never said. He said he didn't see nothing. He don't know who shot. He blah 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 blah. He never really just told on a motherfucker. So I mean, tell me your perspective. You know what I mean? You know, straight up how you feel.
Okay, you used a very key word that I utilize when I discuss this all the time, and that's corroborated.
Mm-hmm.
He corroborated. And anytime you corroborate a statement that's made against a defendant, like you say, you snitching. Now, the perspective of giving him a pass, that's fine and dandy, and I could be all for that. Had he not gone through this situation and then came out talking about he stuck to the G code, you and I generally are familiar with the G code.
No doubt.
So, yeah, with the influence that T.I. has amongst our community, I think he would have been far more redeeming as far as his image had he come out on the other side and say, look, kids, that G code ain't shit.
Yeah.
If I was stuck to that G code, I'd still be in prison. This is what I had to do in order to gain my freedom. Because I can guarantee you this. I bet you Hosea Thomas would have preferred him not showed up to court.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Alex about this. the general, it seems like these days, it's like they keep pulling the line and making the term snitch. They're making it more and more technical to find their way to exclude more people.
Yeah.
Just think about this, bro. Just think about this. If the district attorney invites you to be on his team, his ultimate goal is to achieve a conviction. You get on the stand for 45 minutes, provide testimony on his request. He doesn't ask for one objection. He don't try to redirect none of your statements. You sit up there and tell this emotional story about having to call this dead man's parents, his children, talk about that story is tugging on the hearts of the jurors.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true.
You're right, homie. You're right. No, you're 100% right on that one, homie.
Yeah, and my perspective extends to the fact of this, the corroboration. All right, bam. The detectives, the law, they're trying to put a case together. Based on the dude brother, like you say, and perhaps other people at the venue, the police, the lawyer already had Hosea Thomas from other people. He was in the club. He got in a said car. He left the location.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we don't need you to point him out, T.I. You say you saw a car come up from that venue, and then the car did what? That connects the whole story for the jury. We don't need T.I. to point him out. Somebody else pointed him out.
Well, shit, homie, you should have been a lawyer, homie. You should. I might have to call you if I catch another case. You know, you right. You 100% right, homie, on your perspective, homie. I can't even argue with that one. You know what I mean?
Wait, I think we just lost him. What happened here? I'm gonna have to agree when he said that that T.I. was drawn on the emotional side of the jury. Definitely. Hey, we just lost you, but go ahead, Spider.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but basically that's my take on it. I've discussed the subject so many times on the internet. It's kind of hard to exhaust all my thoughts on it because it's kind of tiring.
You brought up some hell of issues though, homie. When you said the tugging on the jurors' heartstrings, you know, when you talk about coming up there for the prosecution, talking for 45 minutes with hey, you obviously you know a little more about this than I do. You know, and I
saw the video.
Yeah, you absolutely right.
You know, most people of our street culture typically relate to the internet. Because I was a rapper and in the studio every day, I was kind of early to the internet. And I remember when the footage was available in HD, clarity of T.I. on the internet, on the stand, the whole testimony. He was successful in getting the majority of it, except for like 1 minute of it erased from the internet. Yeah, it was right up there. You know, we realize just right now I'm watching the finals. It's two teams. Everybody in yellow is, even if they don't even suit up, they on Golden State's team. They're going to get a ring. T.I. was on the prosecution team. And he suited up. Yeah. He suited up. They got a victory.
They got a victory.
He suited up for the prosecution.
Hey, no, you laid that out there, homie. I never even heard that perspective before and shit, but yeah, you got a point.
Let me ask you this, Spider. I know when you talk about this T.I. case, you always talk about his state case, that state case in Ohio. What do you feel about the federal case? Because FG actually said that he finds it almost improbable that a guy gets 1 year in federal prison for what everybody else is getting 15 and 20 years for.
Everybody I've run across that has any familiarity with the federal system says the same thing. It is extremely, I believe there's a connection because a lot of people aren't aware that that state case in Ohio was held up for 2 years before it went to trial because T.I. was holding out and the prosecutor wanted T.I. to participate. He was attempting to stick to the G code. And a lot of people assume that's why he was caught up purchasing weapons, trying to handle it by the G code. However, once he got himself in that bind, now the district attorney in Ohio has some bargaining chips to bargain with the feds on T.I.'s behalf. It was stated that T.I. received an experimental sentence. That's what they classified it as.
That's what they call
experimental sentence. Yeah, I think they were related. I believe he received leniency in the federal case based upon his willingness to finally cooperate in the state case.
Yeah, see, I didn't know those facts right there, man. That's crazy.
But I've always wondered, when you're facing a mandatory sentence at the federal level, I thought the judge has to give you at least the minimum, between the minimum and the maximum. 1 year is not even within the sentencing guideline.
Yeah, but he have to have a downward departure somewhere in there in order for him to get that time, and it's probably just not stated. See, I don't have his court docket where I can't see if something's sealed or not. Just because he don't have a 5K1 or he don't have a Rule 35B don't mean he received the experimental downward departure, you know. And
see, this is what he benefits in the public eye on the federal level. He then somehow got Meach to claim that he reviewed his federal situation and he's clean. I'm not really familiar with the federal system or what his paperwork might claim, the downward departure. I've heard those terms, but I can't really converse on them real casually. But I know for a fact, like you say, you're on federal parole, you get caught with machine guns and silencers, just the general understanding of that. You got to go lay down for more than a year.
No doubt. Shit, no doubt, homie.
Wait, did you say Big Meach?
Yeah, he always, that's one of the things his talking points was as he campaigned trying to clear his name. Big Meach say, he don't know why they say that about his partner. That's the biggest drug dealer I ever heard of. He throw Big Meach all the way up under.
Yeah, he must have threw Meach some bread or something, but because that ain't what it is, homie. I can't agree with that one on that one.
Well, I think that you make a great point that even though he didn't point anyone out, he didn't give any details regarding the shooting, he did assist the prosecutor, and he was on the prosecuting team. He was a witness for the prosecution, and in your eyes, that's enough to be called a snitch.
I love the way you separate yourself from the final conclusion. I think the facts speak for themselves. I think we can sum it up like this. Everyone who is aware of a person who is T.I. Harris can all agree that his most influential, valuable possession is his presence, his voice, and his speech. And he lended that commodity toward the prosecution, and he aided them quite elegantly and eloquently as he spoke on the stand and helped them and aided them in achieving that conviction.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I'm just a little hesitant.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful if you let the devil play his trick and then sit back and you know he played it. And I know I didn't. And now you say, okay, maybe you didn't, devil. And he did the devil's deed.
No, I agree.
You can color it however you choose to color it. He did the devil's deed.
Here's what I'll say.
He'll never address the phrase participating on behalf of the prosecution in a murder trial. If he's ever questioned in that format, there's nothing he can say. He's gonna swallow cotton.
Yeah, but my thing is that they didn't even need Ti to testify. They would have got a conviction and won that case anyways. I guess
I don't believe that. I
Ti
don't
was like
believe
the
that.
icing on the cake for the
That's your
prosecution.
opinion. That's your opinion versus the prosecution holding up his case for 2 years, refusing to go forward without Ti.
See, that's new information that I'm just being
And I'm
aware
sure you're
of.
gonna look it up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're gonna look it up, Alex. I'm sure you're gonna look it up. Even if you go look at the clips that's available right now of when Ti first went to court, it was in the news clippings like Ti finally is gonna testify. It's in the headlines of the stories. If you go look up the clips, that's on the internet right now. That's how it was announced when they were showing him walking into court. The anchors were describing him finally being willing to cooperate. Finally.
Yeah, I remember when you were telling me that the video used to exist and somehow it got
Yes.
scrubbed off the internet, but that other platform
Yes.
found the transcripts and
Crown
basically
courts.
Crown Courts, they just basically read the transcripts as if they were him, and that was enough right there.
Exactly.
You can't suppress the
Just
transcripts.
imagine, yeah, and just imagine he was trying to be real slick and get up there and throw the prosecution for a loop. The prosecution would at least once say objection, hold on, can I redirect? Are you sure that's what you mean to say? I'm aware of situations where people got on the stand and because they told the prosecution one thing in an interview and tried to be slick and redeem themselves on the stand and change their story, the prosecution tells the judge, Your Honor, I've interviewed this witness on multiple occasions, and this is the first time I've ever heard this account. May I request permission to play a tape? And the
Shit.
judge grants
Yeah.
permission and plays the tape. However, when Ti got up there for 45 minutes, the prosecution had no problems with anything Ti said. And I'm gonna tell you how willingly Ti was to lend his account to this situation. His little arrogant, sarcastic ass was on the stand, and the other lawyer asked him about some of his companions in the van, which happened to be females apparently outside of his marital, and he chose to plead the fifth when asked about that innocent question. However, when asked about activities it related to a murder, he told
He
everything that
spoke
he knew.
up. Yeah, he spoke clearly.
Everything he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said he saw what window the gun came out of. He saw the fire coming out the gun. My boy got shot while we was trying to get his body together and get in the next van. The car came back and sprayed us again.
Oh yeah.
That's telling. That's telling, bro.
Man, you make a great argument, man. I can't even debate your position.
Yeah.
I really
Thank,
can't.
thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Man, the G code that he claims to have gone by calls for him to say nothing.
So you believe that what he did for the state of Ohio helped him in his federal case?
I definitely do. And he often offers justification for why he does it. He talks about the amount of the bond that he would have been responsible for had he not shown up. He talks about his dead homie, parent, mother wanting him to show up. These are the type of pressures that niggas often succumb to when it's time to tell. But he sits up there and makes it sound justified because he has a society that's being the judge and not no criminal element. This is just internet fans and people who feel like snitching is cool anyway, giving him all the passes in the world. I
Well,
think it also disqualifies him as far as integrity and character wise to be a spokesperson on behalf of the black struggle because he's proven when the people come at him with pressure, he'll
With
fold.
pressure, he gonna bust.
He'll fold. Yeah, he'll fold.
Hey, there
So
you
if he
go,
wants to be a
man.
part of our cause, I think he needs to take his seat in the back and silently fund some of these movements that are beneficial. Just use your finances, bro, because your character and your integrity is in question.
well, you ain't gonna get a debate from me. Although I'm not as hard on him as you are, I can't even disagree with anything you said. What do you think,
And
F?
you know what I've fallen victim to?
What's
I've
that?
fallen victim to a voice pattern that has the passion of a preacher. And I speak with so much passion and force that I would be described as going hard on him. I'm really just hard on the facts. I don't really give a fuck about going hard on him. Care nothing about him. I just happen to know what took place. And sometimes it's shocking when you know what happened to see somebody address the world and just say the opposite.
Well, I think
I don't give a fuck about T.I.
Well, I think you're using a very strict definition of snitching because there is really no universal definition of snitching. Because you can have a character witness testify on behalf of the prosecution that ain't telling on nobody. You gonna call that person a snitch?
Bro, if you are involved in the game or in any way where you signed up to be in the element of criminality, the G code, you is not supposed to add your voice to the aid of the prosecution and shit. We are not law enforcement. We are not ever supposed to participate and help the courts come to a conclusion to find somebody as a criminal. Look, this is what they do for us, bro. In our game, you know this. I could be from East Coast. You could be from Swan. We could be shooting at each other. If you tell on me, I'm supposed to be able to go to prison, show the paperwork to your homie, and your homie
and they supposed to smash you. Yeah,
this
blast
is not
you
a
all
concept.
that.
This is not a concept for the general normal person to be able to understand, accept, and decide on. This is a motherfucking concept for the underworld.
No,
and I'm not expecting everybody to actually understand. You can be a snitch by nodding your head or by winking.
Shit.
You ain't got to do nothing. They making this snitch thing so technical that they giving. Man, you could be a snitch so easy. You can wink your eye and tell on a nigga.
But I do got a question, Spider. Let me ask you this.
Go ahead, please.
Homie, you think if this dude was a Crip homie or a Blood or a Paru, that he would have got dealt with more severely than what actually happened with him not being a non-member? You think some of the homies would have brought it to him or whatever he was claiming would have stepped up and put more pressure on him? Do you think he kind of slid through the cracks based on he ain't no checks and balances? You ain't none of our homies, so do you think he got away with that one?
I do. However, he is like quite close with some pretty prominent Crips, Bloods, and none of them call him the task.
Yeah.
But I think the industry. I'm through looking at the industry for righteousness when it comes to this G code shit.
Hell no.
Anything goes. Right. So when it comes to him being affiliated with a real section, I think at least some of his ops at least would have been drawing light to it.
Mm-hmm.
But because he was an entertainer and the internet wasn't as big as it was, there was nobody in the Hosea family that was on social media, going live, telling
pushing the line like that. Yeah.
It was swept under the rug. Just think about it. It was at a time where T.I. was successfully getting the whole testimony wiped off the internet before we even thought to look for it to realize it was gone.
That's crazy.
When we went to look for it, that shit was gone. He was on it.
All right, Spider, I appreciate you tapping into episode 18 of Streets and Scholars and giving us your perspective on T.I. You definitely got me looking at it differently, even though this is a guy that didn't point anyone out, didn't say any names. I completely agree with your perspective on how T.I. testified in that case. So
thank you, sir.
No doubt,
you, sir. I appreciate you, MG.
All right, homie.
Scholars.
Yeah, you stay up out there.
Tap in.
All right, appreciate you.
All right.
There he goes.
Yes,
that's Spider Loke tapping in with Streets and Scholars. And I got to say that I've been knowing Spider for a minute. Mm-hmm. And out of most of the guys that I know from the streets, this guy's from the east side too. He's an articulate brother.
Shit, he laid that out there, man. I can't. Shit, he laid that out.
When you go to the east side, the east side is easty, as he says.
No doubt. You know what I mean? But
I got to attribute that he came up in a religious family that sent him to private school before he ended up getting involved in the streets, before he started banging the East Coast. So he had this real like intellectual upbringing. That's why he talks the way he talks. Yeah. And it just stuck with him. It stayed with him all these years.
And he had familiarity on that case. He knew some facts that, I hadn't ran across, and his opinion made sense like a motherfucker.
Hey, if we're going to use the definition of anyone who testifies to assist the prosecution, man, there's a lot of dudes here in L.A. in the rap business, in the music business that have snitched, and no one's really saying anything about it.
Well, you know it on a different perspective. The first time I ever see it was the same Torrance case I was bringing up earlier. The truck that they found the gun in was registered to an ex-girlfriend of mine. The prosecutor subpoenaed her to be a witness for him. So when I get to court and everything, I see her. She had told me that she had got subpoenaed. I'm thinking she might have got subpoenaed for our side. So when I get to Torrance Court, I see her sitting there. I'm like, hey, what's up, girl? You know what I mean? She like, hey, what's up? The DA ran over there and said, hey, you can't talk to my witness. I looked at him and looked at her, and but I had faith in her, but I didn't know what kind of loophole they were going to ask her. You know what I mean? So they did put her up on the stand and ask her a few questions because the truck was registered in her name, and they definitely tried to get her to go against me. You know what I mean? But she got up there and stood strong. It wasn't nothing she said that was,
But she was a witness for the prosecution.
She was a witness for the prosecution. Now,
and subpoenaed there.
Yeah. And that was the first time I seen that. I didn't know that could actually happen.
She could have pled the fifth and took contempt, if she didn't want to tell anything.
Well, nothing she could tell that she wasn't with me when I caught this case, so nothing she can say technically, can hurt this case basically.
So you didn't trip on anything she said?
No.
But Spider would still call her a snitch.
Yeah, but this the whole thing about it. And I was gonna get into it with him, but it's a certain situation. The same case, right? I fought this case a long time. So this same case, in this one case, Alex, I needed for the first time ever, I needed my homeboys to get on the witness stand for me and tell the truth. Look, homie, I need y'all to tell the truth.
Character witness.
Right. I know y'all, but sometimes telling the truth incriminates you. Dude, I'm not fighting that I didn't have a gun. I'm trying to suppress the evidence. So I'm not saying that I didn't have a gun or they didn't find a gun. I need y'all to tell the exact truth. My homie was drunk. He crashed. We jumped out to help him. While we were jumping out helping him and calling 911, an officer decided to search my truck while we were over here helping. Didn't ever come assist us with helping the homie. He's searching my truck. Finds a gun. So I need y'all to just tell the truth. Get on the stand and tell the truth. Of course, the homies couldn't get up there and tell the truth. You know what I mean? And they got discredited as witnesses, But say had they told the truth like I asked them to do. And somebody one day would have went and got the transcripts. And they got on there and said when they asked him, is Frank Thornton a gang member or ex-gang member? Or did Frank Thornton have a green truck? Do you know if they found a pistol in his car? And they said yes. This is snitching. In this paperwork, had I read it and didn't know the circumstances. So how can everything you get on the witness stand and say is not snitching,
you could have messed them guys up, right?
Not technically, because I'm going to stand there and say, hold on, they did me a favor.
But you're not going to be wherever
this paperwork
at prison where the paperwork pops up.
Exactly.
And they try to say, hey, FG knows all about this. Well, where he at? Well, he ain't here. And this look like snitching.
Exactly. No, but this is what I'm saying. Everything ain't snitching. You know what I mean? And I didn't think about that until recently. All these years, I just thought about that recently. Like, damn, what if they got hit with the paperwork to say they said all this stuff about me when I asked them to. I needed y'all to say this in order for me to everything.
And then if they try to explain it years later, the homie told us to say that, and then this new group of people, that new generation of Pyrus or whatever, like, nah, that don't even sound right.
Right.
You lying.
They don't know the system.
Yeah.
Right.
But one time, like I work with defense attorneys. Mm-hmm. All my cases, defense attorneys. One time a prosecutor called me and she said, Alex, I know prosecutors don't call you that often, but I need your help on a case. Mm-hmm. I said, I've never worked on behalf of the prosecution in 20 years of doing this. She said, just hear me out. And then if you don't want to help me, you don't have to help me. I said, cool. So she tells me I'm prosecuting an LAPD officer who killed a gang member in Pomona in a parking lot after a bar incident. When she said that, I said, I'm in. I said, I'm in. So that's the first time I've ever said yes to a prosecutor on a case.
Right.
Does that make me a snitch because I was assisting the prosecution in prosecuting a police officer for shooting a gang member?
No, especially not at all.
For killing the gang member, actually.
No, but at the same time, somebody will call you a snitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
I'll stand on that one, though.
Everybody not looking at the specific circumstances. Was it a black dude he killed?
Nah, it was in Pomona. It was a Mexican cop.
I was finna say it's a lot of Mexicans.
Yeah, it was a Mexican-American cop shot a Mexican-American gang member. Right. And it was a personal dispute, argument. The cop was in plain clothes. He wasn't, he wasn't in officer attire. But I told the prosecutor, I said, I'll assist you on this one if you need it. And she said, all right, I'm going to put you on standby just in case. She never actually called me to come to court.
Right.
She got a conviction on that cop anyways, but that was the only time, the first and only time I ever said yes to a prosecutor.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm sure some people will say, Alex.
Oh, no doubt you're right, Alex.
But that's cool. You see, you called Anthony Brown a rat that was working with the FBI in the LA County jail to try to get the whole sheriffs exposed for, beating people.
Mm-hmm. I did.
Yeah.
I called him that. I remember that too, but I believed he what did he do?
He was a bank robber.
Yeah, he was the one who got the phone in, assisted them with getting the phone in. But
Yeah.
see, he went through the whole ordeal. He was the case. You know what I mean? He didn't help. He didn't go get on a stand and say they was beating our ass, because he would be a part of that case. That's not, you know what I mean? But he got the phone. He laid them out. So he read it. He told on their ass. Man.
Yeah, but I don't think when you're when you're bringing the system down, I'm gonna give a pass to that all day.
Yeah,
all day.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Anthony Brown a rat still.
All right, let's talk about this one situation that you brought up. This rapper named Trouble.
Oh yeah,
that got killed, right?
Yeah, I was looking at the circumstance, and it wasn't so much. I don't know him like that as a rapper. I did check him out, and but what happened was he was over a female house. The ex-boyfriend, who she just broke up with just a week prior, came and broke in the house, ran in there. Woke her up, started punching her in the face. Realized Trouble was in the bed. They got into a scuffle. The guy pulled out his gun, hit him one time in the chest, killed him. Now, Trouble also had a girlfriend, like a real girlfriend, outside the house. My whole thing was more or less like, it's a tragic accident, no doubt, because I'm sure he maybe had kids or something. I know he had a mother, father or something, and family members, maybe brothers and sisters. So it was a tragic incident. But my thing is this, where at some point do, this female had to take some kind of responsibility? You just was in an abusive relationship with a crazy motherfucker, and then you gonna have this dude come over and spend the night? You know what I mean? So did you think Trouble was tough enough to where if dude came over there, Trouble handle him? You know what I mean? He ain't gonna do that shit if Trouble over here and put this dude in a situation where he lost his life?
Well, I could tell you, it sounds like this woman has attachment issues. When you're getting out of a relationship like that, you need some time for yourself.
Right.
You shouldn't be having no one laid up in your bed, a week later, you said?
And a week, bro.
Yeah, there should be no one laid up in your bed 1 week later after a breakup. And that's her fault. But she probably doesn't have the right tools, the mental capacity to understand you need some time for yourself. But I feel like the dude that killed Trouble might be able to fight this case.
Think he got a shot?
Yeah, because if I'm the dude that just shot Trouble, I'm gonna say the dude was a threat to my life at that moment.
Even though you broke in the damn house?
You broke in the house, but you didn't know the Trouble was in there.
Right.
And then you find out Trouble's there, and as soon as you find out Trouble's there, I'm telling the jury Trouble was gonna kill me. I broke in the house. Yeah, my bad. I just broke up with her. Yeah, my bad.
I was whooping her ass.
I was beating her ass. Yeah. My bad. But then this dude that I didn't even know was there got up and attacked me, and I felt like if I didn't do anything, he was going to kill me. Mm-hmm. Then end the case.
Well, you gotta hey, that could work. I can't say that process. I mean that won't work. But it goes to show it's not just rappers though. It's not just. This type of stuff can happen though in any society on any level. I mean, you could be a prosecutor, because it's they sleep with women too. They have infidelities and all kind of shit too. So at the same time, this is not just an issue amongst rappers or blacks or none of that. This is an issue man and woman. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, how many people lost their life over a female making the wrong decision?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's a tragic incident, man. But at the same time, I know a lot of men listen to our show. Listen, before you go over them females' house, they can, no matter how professional they are, that don't mean the crazy boyfriend who's a cop or ex-cop or anything don't exist. You know what I mean? And find yourself in a situation, and And then you seen his real girlfriend went online and stated that, you know, she'd never be mad at him and this or that. Shit, I get killed over another girl house, man. My wife ain't gonna honor none of my funeral arrangements.
Yeah, man. Hey, Trouble was 34 years old. His real name, I believe it's Mr. Orr. I can't pronounce his name. I believe that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was in a situation, this was like in 93, where I invited a girl over to my place where I was living with my dad after I'd known her for like a year. And then she decided she was going to come over. Her ex-boyfriend followed her to my apartment. And we realized he was outside. We both realized he was outside. And I was upset. I was like, why is this guy following you over here? And she just said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then eventually I went outside I went out the back of the building, came all the way around to see if I could just draw his attention in my direction. While I did that, I guess he knew I went out the back way. He busted my door down.
No shit.
Dragged her out into a car and drove off. So when I came back in, my door was off the hinges.
Yeah.
Her purse, all her stuff was in the apartment.
That's crazy.
And it just made me think about that situation because it could have went real bad if he had a gun, if I had a gun. And then that was my dad's place too. My dad came home and said, why is my door off the hinges?
Yeah.
I said, somebody kicked it in. So I think these things probably happen more often than we think.
Oh, I know they do. You
Yeah,
know,
well, you know they do.
I was been out there. I've been in a few situations and shit, you know, and I made it, you know, luckily, you know what I mean? I made it, but I've been having my hair got by the hair of my chin a few times, man.
Okay, so the guy that shot him, his name is Jones. So he's wanted for home invasion. They charged him with the home invasion. Felony murder. I mean, I don't know why they say felony murder.
Right. What else is
murder is a felony.
Right,
It's an
right,
oxymoron. Right. Aggravated assault. Authorities said he's believed to be in the Atlanta, Jonesboro area. So I guess he's still on the run as of, has he been caught yet? Do you know?
Yeah, he's been caught.
Okay, so this is a couple days old.
He actually turned himself in.
Okay. So I believe he does have a case, a good defense. He's definitely going to have to throw Trouble under the bus, though.
Mm-hmm,
he's going to have to.
Well, you know, when you fighting for your life, you know, he's going to do everything he can, you know, to, you know, depending on his mental capacity, you know.
And I'm sure that Trouble's family is probably putting the blame on that girl, as you're saying.
Man, if that was my brother, man, I'm talking about I'd be at her head. You know what I mean? That's just really what it is. I'd be on her helmet. She would have had to pack up and move if that was my brother, you know. And I still had put some blame on him, but at the same time, you knew you was messing with this crazy ass dude, and you had my brother come over there when he was just beating your ass last week, and you gonna have my brother come over there, you know. So yeah, it wouldn't be the right thing to do, but in a situation like that, I wouldn't even care. I'd have been on her helmet.
Hey, I just saw here that T.I. tweeted, "Rest in peace, Trouble," because this is a Atlanta-based rapper.
Oh, okay.
So T.I. is sending his condolences. Yeah, man, I think this is just a lesson for a lot of young people. When I say young, I mean this guy was 34, so he wasn't really young, but he's in that age range to where you got to be careful if you ain't already, you know, wifed up or you with someone for years and years. When you're meeting these new girls, you have no idea what you're walking into because most of them aren't going to be honest about their history anyways.
True.
You know, you could ask, you know, when I was young, I used to ask, you know, you with somebody? Is it cool to come over? You got any exes? But of course, they're going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, I didn't never ask. I kept a pistol. So, you know what I mean? I was going to shoot it out. You know, that's how I felt at the time. But unfortunately, like you say, some of these girls are just, you know, some of them get a kick. Like I say, some of them get a kick out of seeing some dudes fight over them or somebody beefing over them. And, you know, I always say if two dudes ever get into a shootout with each other or one shoot the other one and they still having issues, you need to holler at her too. She need to get an issue too, an ass whooping too, because, you know, a lot of times females start this shit. In certain situations, not every time, but in certain situations, you know.
Well, they say that a lot of the conflict here in Los Angeles, going back to the 70s on the streets, is connected to either money or women.
Man, no doubt, you know.
And in this situation right here, man, this guy lost his life over visiting the wrong girl at the wrong time.
Man, wrong day, man.
But it could be another lesson, too, where this guy already had a girlfriend, and maybe he should have just been focusing on her rather than let me go over here and get this little piece right tonight because I'll go see my main girl another day. As that's another thing to think about.
Well, I'm not going to blame him because at the same time, if it was just his girlfriend, that's one thing, when you have a girlfriend, man, you're not obligated to be faithful every step of it. I mean, it's a girlfriend, you know what I mean? And, at the end of the day, he's probably trying to make sure that it ain't nothing better than hers to before he even, be with the girlfriend faithfully anyway.
Yeah.
So, but men cheat, women cheat, people cheat. That's just something that happens. Not everybody, but it is something that happens on all levels. So I won't blame his cheating part, the infidelity part, but I will blame the negligence of this girl. I mean, maybe he knew this dude was crazy, and maybe he felt like the dude ain't gonna do shit if I'm over here. Maybe that was the situation. We can't always blame her. Maybe she said, you might not want to come over because this dude be tripping. Trouble said, fuck him, I'm coming anyway.
Yeah.
But he should have had a pistol.
Well, we'll find out when this guy goes to trial, if he does. You know what? I don't think that when you're not married, you're cheating. If you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, I know some people will disagree with that. But when you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, you're dating, I don't think you're obligated to any sort of commitment unless you're engaged and about to get married. But if you're just dating, maybe if you're dating long term, I'll say, all right, you got a commitment. But when you just, in this short term dating,
right,
there's no such thing as cheating to me.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. That's why I said it like that, And because anybody could take, that was my boyfriend. We could have met 2 weeks ago and you calling me your boyfriend, or I'm calling you my girlfriend, but like I say, we may never get to the bottom of exactly what caused his death as far as was she liable or was he liable, but it was just a tragic incident, man. And I just want men of all and females to make this a lesson on be mindful when you are out of new relationships, and just be mindful. Definitely,
when you get out of a relationship, you need to take some time off. You're doing a disservice to yourself, and then the other person is becoming a victim to your mental instability. But I want to know how serious Trouble's relationship was with the other girl. Like, soon we'll find out, how long they were together, if they were involved in a long-term relationship,
right.
if they had something more serious. If we do find that out, then I might say, man, Trouble, you shouldn't have been at that girl's house.
Right, you were wrong, dog. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to ask you about before we wrap it up is that Rolling Stone magazine did a top 200 rap albums, and they've had Ready to Die, Notorious B.I.G. as #1 of all time. What you think about that?
I didn't agree with it, but it's hard to hate on it, but I don't agree with it. But I mean, hey, it was a great album. It was, but I just really think it was some albums better.
Yeah.
And what did they go? Did they go to like a 10-year span, a 5-year?
No, all time.
All time,
because they got It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy. And I think that's 1989. That's number 4 on the list. I think their top 10 albums are. I can't disagree with it, and I can't even disagree by putting Ready to Die #1. But what I am a little surprised is that there's no Tupac in the top 10.
Yeah.
And Nas's album Illmatic is definitely a top 10 album. I don't know who I would put it. I would put Illmatic over. They have Tribe Called Quest as the Low End Theory as #9. I'd put Illmatic over that.
Definitely.
And but yeah, man. I always get a kick out of these lists, but I'm not shocked that B.I.G. is #1, but I am shocked that Nas and Pac aren't in the top 10.
Me too.
All right, man. And on that note, we will call it a day. Thanks for tapping in with Streets and Scholars, episode 18. F General 1 on Instagram, right?
No doubt.
Are you getting
no
crazy
doubt.
DMs?
I am actually, but I'm getting positive ones too. I mean, not that I'm getting a bunch of negative ones, but I mean, when I say positive, I'm getting people with good advice. People sending me shirts, and people that have companies sending me merchandise to check out. Have their opinions. I also get the ones that, hey, FG, can you tell Alex? Look, Alex have a DM. You tell Alex.
Yeah. Well, be careful. Don't click on any of the links that you get from someone on Instagram, because it's designed to take over your
I don't
account.
mess with them links, man.
Yeah, don't click on those links. But yeah, F General 1 on Instagram, and then FG Unleashed on YouTube.
Right, no doubt.
Anything you can speak on that you got coming up on the YouTube channel?
I got a couple things coming up. I talked to the homie out of Lime Hood, Dusty Loke. He doing good. He gonna tap in with us soon. I got a few homies that want to do them. It's just time that our schedule's not mixing up. Then not to mention, just trying to get out in the street a little more and get them some street views, and things like that.
Cool, man. Well, tap into F General 1 on Instagram and FG Unleashed on YouTube, and you could tap in with me, Alex Alonso 101, and Street TV on the YouTube platform. And thanks for tapping in on another fire episode of